Let's do this.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pumped.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, let's do this.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's do this.
Now let's do this.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the Coaching Life Podcast. My name is Pat Martin. I'm here remotely with my buddy Coach Chris Stewart. Coach, how you doing?
I don't think people would have known that if you hadn't said it. You sound good remotely. It's a better remote connection. It's clear. There's not much background noise.
I've got my remote A game on today.
Gotcha. Yes, you do. You do. But welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you sat one out on me.
Yeah, I was tired.
Tired.
You
I asked me about coaching basketball and baseball, and I tried to tell you.
Yeah, we're going to see how I feel at the end of the season so we can make some decisions on that. But no, I had to rest up because of the weeks that were coming ahead. I had to refresh and get ready to go. So
is that what it was?
Took the day off. I mean, even those big time stars like Mike Greenberg and Mike Golick, they take time off. You should have brought a guest host on. Is what you should have done.
Oh, and just have myself take a day. Listen, there are no days off, bud.
No.
I'll take days off.
No. For me.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, gotcha. What, you saying you didn't like what I had to say? You know, I kept it under 20 minutes.
So now you're blaming me for going over 30. Is that? I mean, because
I did say that at the beginning. Actually, I said, it's not going to be nearly as long today because you know how windy Pat is.
Right.
No,
I do like to talk.
I told them that I was joking. I said everybody knows that I always talk over top of you and talk. If we were to do a breakdown time log of minutes talked, I'm sure that I've been a little windier than you have been.
Oh, that'd be interesting. I'm surprised we don't have that breakdown on our statistics.
Yeah, they give us all the other analytics. I'm curious. I'm curious to hear. So you've had your first day of varsity baseball head coaching experience as the Ohio High School Athletic Association official first day of mandatory baseball practice began yesterday. So it would have been February 21st. What do you think? How'd it go?
It went amazing. That's what I was going to ask you if anything new happened with you this week, but yeah, couldn't sleep last night. So amped up. I don't know.
You sound amped up right now.
Do I sound amped up? I don't know how.
You're learning how to breathe. You're slowing things down. I like it.
I'm reflecting is what I'm doing, and it's just I can't explain how it feels because for someone that loves the game and loves that school and mm-hmm. that program, as much as I do, there's a lot of feelings that's going through me. But we had a really good day. It was beautiful outside.
Yes, you had a much different first day experience than what is typical in our state.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't have 65-degree weather and sunshine on day one in the middle of February usually.
That's what one of my Coach Finlaw, one of my assistants, or one of our assistants said that it's about 20 degrees warmer today than it's going to be for a handful of our games throughout the season. So
that's the truth.
It was really nice. I had to shed my sweatshirt, which I didn't expect to do. So. But no, we got some good work in and had we had 29 guys come out yesterday and
that's outstanding.
Yeah, really excited about it, and we got a few more. I got a few wrestlers that are still wrestling, Coach. Got some guys that are going to sectionals this Saturday. So
yeah,
I'm not really for sure when I'll get those back. You got some wrestlers too that you're waiting on?
Yeah, I've got 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could be gone for weeks, huh? Because, sectionals are Saturday and then districts are the Saturday after that.
They could be, yeah. If somebody goes all the way to the state, it could be another couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's interesting, and something that is just another one of those things. It's like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if your basketball team had won the district semifinal, you wouldn't have your basketball players.
True, right? Yeah,
because what is the district, or was that a district semifinal that you guys played?
Yes, it was. Yeah, and I think the district. I saw Zane Trace. I think they played in the district last night. Oddly enough.
Yeah.
And they won it. So,
okay. So, like for example, they're not going to have their baseball players for another week.
Yeah.
That are on the basketball.
At least
that are on the basketball team. Yeah.
Those guys are some players. They can they might continue to play for a while. So, pretty good team. But it was a good day, man. I have some complaints, but those are complaints that we're working on. Not complaints, though,
your
right?
own,
because we don't complain.
That's right.
Right.
Or just your own critique.
Some issues, yeah, and all around, just things that as you go through that first practice, you think, I should have done this.
Oh yeah,
done that better.
You want to do everything, especially when you know you've only got one good day of sunshine, possibly for the next,
right.
And then a week of having to figure out a way to practice indoors and things like that. And that's not a big deal for a lot. There might be people who listen to us, maybe not, but there might be people who listen to us who have great facilities at their school where their kids go or where they coach, and it's not that big of a deal to move inside. But you and I, when we talk about having to pivot and face the challenge of practicing indoors, we're talking about a very small gymnasium with no cage, with no indoor cage. So there is no hitting. Anytime you got to be indoors, pretty much, right? I mean, you're not hitting live. I mean, you could swing off of tees, but you can only do so much with that.
Tees and foam balls, maybe some wiffle balls, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very, very limited. So you've got to be pretty creative, and you've got to be patient because it's discouraging too. And that's one of the reasons why, I'll be honest with you, Coach Gibson never liked going outside, even on a nice day at the beginning of the season, knowing that he'd have to come back inside.
Yeah,
and so the way he sort of went about it was, I know it's nice outside, but it's too tough. It's too tough to come back in after you've gone out. And so he's like, we're just going to plan on practicing inside for this first week at least, maybe the first two. And then once the weather breaks, we're never coming back inside again. And that's kind of the way, some guys, just based on how you want to go about it, that's it, and it worked out just fine. I have a hard time wasting a nice day.
Yeah, I can see that though, because you can plan that year to year and say this is what we like to get done inside,
right?
And gradually build up.
That's exactly what he did.
Yeah, because going back and forth, there's actually probably some challenges presented in that. Being outside one day and then being inside the next 3 days, you kind of feel there's some. You can't build up to things.
Yeah, you get a taste of what baseball's meant to be outside, because it's not meant to be played in a gymnasium.
Right.
And so if you're locked in a gymnasium for a week because of weather, it can get frustrating. And so I think that's something that you're going to find is a good challenge for you as a coach, is to keep those kids focused and energetic and excited about. It's a good opportunity to teach. I think when you're indoors, you're in an enclosed area. You don't have to raise your voice as much to teach, to pause and to teach them things. If there's anything that you want to go over with them, and then you're limited in reps, but you can get it done. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be the challenge today for sure, because that's where we're headed.
That's what we've got today.
The rain's not stopping anytime soon, and
it might just rain enough to make tomorrow with less rain or no rain in the forecast. I think.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to rain tomorrow.
It's going to be a little cooler, but we'll just wear boots. But wear your boots and go outside, right?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Our outfield was pretty wet still yesterday. We did some plug years here. We ran some 60s yesterday.
We've converted them, guys.
Actually, but and you can ask my players.
Hey, Pat, we didn't run any 60s.
Oh wow. Well, I complained about you with each group that ran them.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to get some.
Did you have some good times? Any surprises?
We had some surprises in terms. I think surprise. I don't know. I don't know if it's a surprise. There's discussions around them, but as far as who ran well and who didn't run as well as what they thought they would.
Right. Yeah.
But
I mean, you find out. And that's one of the things a 60 does is it gives you a base point for yourself to say, because they know what a fast time is. And they come in there at a 7.6, they're going, ooh, I guess I'm not as fast as I thought I was.
Yeah, well.
Or over 8, depending on who it is, right?
Yeah. Hopefully not many of my players listen to this podcast. But yeah, it was wet out there. And,
yes, I'm sure your grass was high and soggy. It's not easy to run on that.
Lumpy too.
Yes,
we need to roll it.
We need to roll it.
We've got.
That's common. Don't panic.
If anyone wants to come pet some ground moles, I'm sure they would find some out in our outfield somewhere. So we've got something to mess with there.
Actually, we've fought the ground mole challenge when I was at Athens also, and that's a scary one because that creates a really soft tunnel, and they can go nuts in your field. And when they get close, to that infield, buddy, it's time to start getting the shotguns out or something.
We don't. I don't know what they're doing. They're not burrowing underneath. These aren't the humps like the paths that are humped up. Where
when you step on it, you sink it. You sink down.
Well, it's just like the grass is worn out. It's almost like a snake has been slithering around in the grass over and over and over and over again in the same path. But yeah, so there you go. I mean, ground moles. I mean, Coach, I didn't have that on my list of things to focus on coming into the season. I must admit. So
in the off season, just kill those grubs. Put some stuff down to kill the grub worms because that's what the ground moles get after, and they'll leave. If there's no grub, there's nothing for them to eat. They're not going to hang out in your field. So that's how you deal with that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
This is exciting podcasting right now.
Yeah, everyone out there is like, what are these guys talking about? This is boring. But
we don't care.
This is the thing. Like, we've told everyone from the beginning that we have conversations on while we record it, and this is. I mean, I'm excited to talk about stuff like this. How about you?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's the way. The nature of this podcast is you listen to our conversations. Whatever we decide to talk about, then you can turn us off if you want. That's okay.
Well, what are we going to do? Let's talk about something that might be beneficial.
That is helpful and useful. Yeah.
Since we hammered my guys 60 times, and
you didn't give any times out. For all we know, they ran 7.2, 7 flats, 6.9.
Right. Yeah.
They did. Right. Good.
Right. Yeah. So, first week of practice, I seen some things yesterday that I thought, I thought it was common knowledge.
Oh,
it makes sense that an athlete would go about things a certain way, and it kind of caught me off guard. So I thought maybe we could talk about a mindset. An attitude, or some expectations from a behavior perspective, self expectations for athletes out there, and baseball players, softball players, as they go into that first week of practice, because what are you doing out there? I mean, a lot of programs across the state, across the country, they're it's not practice, it's tryouts, right? They're trying to find out who they're going to keep and who they're going to get rid of, and what they've got and things like that. So as a player, when you go out on that field for the first time, you're trying to be the best representation of yourself, and give them something that sticks out. Give the coaches something that sticks out to them and says, that guy gets it, or that girl gets it. She understands what it means to work hard and to go after it. So,
and make no mistake, I don't know how it's run at every school, but I can tell you how it's run at ours. We don't need to make cuts. In fact, we need more players out. We're a little lower in numbers than I knew that we would be because we graduated 9 kids last year in a very small school district, and those are tough to replace. Yeah. But the numbers themselves are tough to replace. Mm-hmm. But just because you've only got 20 some kids coming out, and you want to have a varsity and JV team, and so that's a good number to build. Both teams, and you're like, well, we can't afford to cut anyone. I told our guys last night before we left. We sat down and I talked about I basically gave them an assignment in the playbook, pages 1 through 6. I want you to read those pages, and then I summarized what they're going to be reading when they sit down tonight to read those. And what we talked about was on page 6. It talks about tryouts. It talks about what this time is that we're doing this week, and what it means for us as coaches, and what it means for you as players. As we watch you in these first few days of practice, in this first week of practice, we are evaluating what we see out of you. And so we want to make sure that you guys understand how we are evaluating you, what we're watching when you're out here. From the moment you step out here from the locker room, or actually the moment you step into the locker room, to be quite honest, that is another thing that is important to me, is how you behave and treat the facilities that you're given to use. Mm-hmm. And so there's a list of things, and I said, go make sure you go over those lists, because I told them, I said, yeah, we have plenty of uniforms for everybody that's here right now. We don't intend to cut, but I said we will if we have to. Yeah. If we have to. There is a way that we desire to play the game, and if you are showing us in this first week that you're not interested in playing the Eagle way, you will be cut.
Yep.
So understand that. We don't want to. We don't believe we will. We don't believe that we'll have to, because I felt good about the effort and what I saw last night. But I said, you got to understand that there is a standard, and you've got to rise to meet that standard. In terms of not necessarily talent and skill. It's our job to help build that and to increase that in you. And you're not going to necessarily meet an athleticism standard, but everyone can meet the attitude standard, and the hustle standard, and the effort standard, and the commitment standard, and the sportsmanship standard, and the I love my team standard, and serving standard. All of those standards, right, are what we're saying. It's your choice. And if you choose not to, then that's going to have an impact on where we see you in this program, or if we see you in the program at all.
Well, that's the thing. If you and I kind of gave this similar sentiment to my team last night. I said, we don't have rules, we have expectations.
Yes, sir.
This is the way we're going to do things. So there's your choice right there. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. Right. And like you said, it's not things that require God-given capacity to do. They're things that you choose to do.
Yes, even though those aspects are part of the criteria as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
right.
When we determine selection of varsity team versus JV team, for example, or who's going to play on both, and even who's going to play today in the lineup, right? I mean, it does include your athleticism. It does include your strength, arm strength, and just your overall strength, your speed, how well you can run. It does include your ability to pitch and throw strikes and to throw and catch and things like that. But it's not just those things. And I wanted to make sure, and it sounds like you did too, to emphasize the total picture of it all.
That's good stuff there, Coach.
Hey, by the way, speaking of strength, this was a fun thing last night, and I knew it was going to happen. See, we got to hit. Did you hit live on your field?
We didn't hit live on the field. We were in the cage.
Yeah, I wasn't going to, but I thought, man, don't want to waste this. So our last hour, we knew the sun was going to start going down around 6:30, and so I said, okay, by 5:30 we want to start. Actually, in practice plan, I think I had it written at 5. By 5 o'clock, because we started at 4. So I said, by 5, we're going to go ahead and do BP rounds. You said, man, you got right into it. Well, I didn't plan on doing that. And so a couple of the kids that, when they came around to their turn to hit on the field live, that a couple of the kids that had been in the weight room since day 1 in August, I loved this. One kid Like it was like the second ball he swung at. It was a shot to the gap. It was a shot. I mean, that ball jumped off the bat, and he looked over at me like, and with like this big smile on his face. And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, and it was almost like he was going to say, "I don't think I've ever hit a ball that far before." And so I asked him, and when he was done with his round, I called him over there and asked him. I said, "Did you surprise yourself or what?" I said, you know, what happened there? He goes, I was really pleased with how well I hit the ball. And I said, well, let me ask you something. What are you deadlifting right now? Mm. And he said, well, and he's not a big kid. He's a small kid, actually. He said, the last time we did it, I did 2 sets of 6 at 255. And I said, where'd you start? Where were you deadlifting when we started in August? And he said, I was probably 85, 95 pounds.
That's good stuff.
I said, well, there's a reason why you hit the ball further than you've ever hit it before. And that's
for sure.
That is the reason. Because you've not been taking BP since August. Today was the first time you've hit, right? Yes. The only reason you hit the ball as well and as hard is because you got in the weight room.
Yeah.
And I pointed that out to every person. I pointed it out at the end of practice. I said, this guy here was surprised at how well he hit, how hard he hit the ball. I wasn't surprised because I know that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's good stuff.
So that was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, hopefully that's something that we'll continue. We've been having good turnouts in the weight room, and I want to keep doing that throughout the year, and so that to give guys the opportunity to, and not just my players, but our players. I need to quit saying that. It is our program's players, not my players, but they mean a lot to me. So it's kind of like being the Browns,
my team,
us, we, them. I want Meg's athletes to be able to experience that same revelation, so to speak. That wow, that felt really good. What was different, and then understand that being in the weight room is different. So it's important. I'm glad you pointed that out. What do you look for, Coach? What sticks out to you as something that guys do on the first few days of practice that you think, oh, this kid gets it? Well,
let me start with the opposite side of that. What do I see sometimes that is I don't want to say it's a negative, but it could be a distraction or a deterrent for
a bad practice.
And it's not anything that they're doing on purpose.
Right.
But I you want kids to work hard and try hard, but sometimes I think they try too hard. What I mean by that is they press really hard. Like I could see in a few kids yesterday, they really wanted to impress us. And it's especially those kids that they're just not sure. You don't see it as much with kids who know they're going to be playing varsity ball. They're out there, they're relaxed. They're like, hey, baseball's finally here. You hear them saying, man, I love this. We're having fun. They're loose. Then you got some in the middle that aren't as loose because they're not sure where they fall. And the best thing that they can do, I think, is to just forget about what is outside of their control. You can't control what a coach thinks of you in every given moment. In fact, you're probably not even accurate in how you're thinking the coach is thinking of you.
True.
You know what I'm saying? We had a couple of kids last night that couldn't hit a lick. It didn't. Every swing they took, they never made contact.
Same.
And you could see it. After about 6 or 7 balls, they were really frustrated. I had one back out, and I had him come over and talk to me. And I said, listen, I know you can hit. And in fact, I wasn't expecting hardly anyone to be able to hit very well tonight, to be quite honest. The fact that the majority of us have put the bat on the ball pretty well, I'm really kind of pleased about that. However, I'm not displeased that you didn't hit. I'm not displeased because this is what I actually expected. And so I know you can hit. I've seen you hit. I know you can hit very well. Hitting is timing. And the only reason you were missing everything is not because your swing was bad, was just simply because you were about 3 feet in front of everything that was thrown in that
Right.
BP. I mean, you were so anxious, so amped up. You're trying too hard. you wanted to hit everything off the barrel, and so what happened was you didn't hit anything. And then you allowed that to frustrate you, and you probably had all kinds of things going through your mind like, well, all the coaches are watching me, and this is my first day, and this is what. So I said, you got to flush all that. Just flush all that. All right? We know what you can do. And he just smiled, and he's like, all right, cool. And that was it. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. We had that same thing. We've got a lot of we have a lot of freshmen in our program this year, and we have a good group of our program are guys that they're in their first year of high school baseball. So just watching them get in the cage and take some swings, they're solely focused on what the ball was doing off the bat.
Yes, the result. Yes.
Yeah, and as coaches, we're looking at the way that they walk in the cage to start with, right? What their feet's doing, what their hips are doing, where their hands are at, and things like that. And you look at it and you say, you're not, as a coach, I could see the frustration on a couple guys' faces, but I was looking at the way they were swinging. I wasn't even paying attention to whether or not they were making contact with the ball, because if that foundation is there, you like you said, that it's going to come around regardless, or you know what you can do to help fix some things. So there were some guys swinging that I was actually impressed with, that I know that they were pretty discouraged with the way that they hit the ball. So that's a good point.
Yeah, same. But I think the in terms of what a kid can do in that first week and what they can bring to make sure that they're really truly ready is I think that if they understand the expectations, so really that's on us to begin with, to outline that and let them know and to communicate that this is what we want to see from you in this first week. We're going to try to you mentioned this earlier. One of the things that's really tough about the first week is just you want to do everything. You want to try to get everything in. You want to try to teach everything and do everything. And it's hard to do that. It's impossible to do that. But two, it's hard on the kids. And so I think what I mean by that is they're really rusty. They're really, really rusty. And so I have to remind myself that in these first couple weeks of practice, don't put too many different things in the plan. Like our practice plan is packed with stuff, but it's really I showed you, but it's really a lot of the same kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, if you're not, how much throwing are we going to do tonight? Well, we've got a Cracker Jack box sized gym. We're not going to be able to throw much at all. Pitchers are going to throw. They're going to throw from 60 feet off a bullpen mound, but everybody else is going to do these little circle drills and things like that, where they're still able to throw and catch and get the ball, make the transfer and things like that. Arms are going to be sore. I know that because they got outside and were throwing yesterday from further back than what they normally would at this time of year. They're going to be fielding balls off the wall, tennis balls off the wall, doing some Aussie drills and working the glove and things like that, and doing ball rolls and just keeping things really simple. And I think that, I really think that one of the big things for kids early on coming out to tryouts is the discouragement factor. Is baseball is a very hard game to play. And I told them this last night before we left. I said it's really difficult game. I said it's an awesome game, but it's difficult, and it'll humble you really, really fast. And usually in these first couple weeks of practice, you get humbled. You get reminded of how difficult this game is to play. And if you haven't been playing it regularly, which really none of our guys have been, then it takes a little bit of time to come back. But it will come back. It will come back. And for some, it will come back faster than others. For some, it will come back a little slower, but it's going to come back. So just stay with it. Stay with it. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Don't allow yourself to get discouraged. Just stay with it. Stay with it. Stick with the process. Trust the process.
Yeah, for sure. I talked about that at the beginning of our practice yesterday. Don't worry about evaluating yourself, in terms of how you're performing. evaluate yourself in terms of how you're moving, how you're working.
Yes.
You know, what the effort you're giving, what effort level you're giving is, and you know, because that's why the coaches are there. You know, primarily we manage the players.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all they have to do is execute. All they have to do is do the work. We take care of the rest. So. Yeah, that's a good point. It's easier said than done. Obviously, I know we had quite a few guys out there yesterday that were nervous about just crazy stuff. Like, you know, one guy confided in me and said that he was scared to death because he's not for sure how great of a slider he is. And so, you know, I'm like, you'd be surprised of all the guys that are out there how many are really good sliders.
Of all the things, that's really, I would have never guessed that would be something that would be on somebody's mind.
Scared to death. He said he's scared to death of it. Yeah. So just really
scared
concerned about it.
To do it, or just he's never been taught. To actually do it.
Yep. Just because he knows he's not good at it. So, and it's just, it's one of those things. But, and I'm sure that's one example of all the off the wall things that these guys are worried about. And we didn't have school yesterday at Meg's, so but that's always something that factors into that as well. Is what happened to them in school, what happened to them during the day,
sure.
and things like that. So it's fun. The game's fun. And working to get better at the game's fun, and it's a release from everything else that you deal with. Mm-hmm. So it's a great practice to relax when you get the opportunity to play it.
Yeah. Something that I've been teaching our guys who've come to the weight room for strength and conditioning throughout the off season is I've been teaching them how to breathe and just and the importance of breathing. And so when we're done, because they've done that workout, the heart rate's up, they're amped up and everything, and so we want to finish with stretching, and then included with our stretching, I just have them really a lot of them just they're laying down and doing it. Sometimes I have them sit up real straight and do it, and we just do a 6-2-8 breath, in for 6, hold it for 2. And then breathe it out for 8. And
yeah, you told me about that. I really like that.
It's really fun to listen to the room after everyone's done that. There is a calm. It's an immediate calm. Just an immediate, quiet, calm. And then I say, okay, let's do it again. In for 6. Hold it for 2. Out for 8. And then they just count in their own mind 8. And actually, I think I talked about this last week because I actually, this is something I talked about with the Meg's girls basketball
control. Yeah.
But what that helps to do is it helps you to realize that you're in control of your emotions, because I think that's what we experienced in the first week of tryouts for any sport is a lot of emotion. Of a lot of just our mind is wandering everywhere. We're really wanting to do well. We're comparing ourselves with everyone else, and there's so much going on that's out of our control that we tend to focus on more than the stuff that's in our control.
Absolutely, and it's distracting.
It is.
So then the things that are in our control we don't do as well.
Yes.
Or we don't approach as well.
Yeah,
it's a big problem. I think that's one of the things that stuck out to me yesterday was, and this isn't new. I mean, this is something that I've known athletes to always do. Mm-hmm. Running a drill, running our 60s, whatever it is, they struggle to finish the drill. It's like they'll get to, especially running. You're running to a spot, and these guys are giving everything they have. Down the line, they get to the finish line, and they slow up about 10 foot. To the finish line. And, then they wonder why their number isn't better than what it was, or, and it takes a lot of time off your, off a run when you do that. But it's from a finish perspective, you're running a drill and you drop a ball, right? So you have a ball, you drop the ball, and then, you see this a lot. Guys will just stand up, drop their shoulders, walk to the ball. You know what I mean? That's, you're actually practicing a very, very horrible habit by doing that, and you don't even know it.
That's a great point. That reminds me of something that I actually wrote down in my notes last year to do this year, and it's this: practice missing a ball.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Why? Because it's going to happen, right?
Yes. We played a team where part of their infield warm-up routine, their fungo, their in-out fungo before the game was a ground ball miss, a booted ground ball. You kick, and so basically the ground ball comes to you, and you kind of, if you field it clean, you just kind of toss it to the side, or just kind of let it bounce off of your glove, or you let it bounce off of your chest or something like that. And you basically have to practice how you're going to recover on a ball that you didn't field cleanly. Because that is a really great point. We don't allow anyone, like in BP when we're fielding live defense, we don't allow anyone to not finish the play.
Yep.
Because all of our infielders make a play either to first, or depending on if we say, hey, okay, for this next batter, everything's a double play, whatever we say. If they don't field it cleanly, like if it just gets through, to the outfield, then it becomes the outfield's ball and they don't worry about it. But if it's something that they didn't field cleanly, like it went through their legs, or it went off their glove and off to the side, whatever, we want them to get after it hard and finish the play. Regardless of whether that is a throw across the diamond, because usually it's not going to be a throw across the diamond. You don't want to waste a throw, but get to the ball quickly and stop the runner. Get to don't just give up. That's something that you're right. It's not practiced enough, and it creates, I think, a mindset of giving up. I mean, that's really what it is. You're giving up.
Yeah, and you're practicing.
You're practicing giving up. Yeah.
You're getting better at giving up. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Right.
And it's not that the player necessarily is, obviously they don't have a goal of that.
Sure.
Right? They just don't realize they're doing it because they're not finishing. And I think, the point that you made about the things, worrying about those things that we can't control, that'll impact, maybe you're running, you start running and you slip, right?
Right.
And you're like, oh man, I just slipped. So now you're getting down through there, and it's easier for you not to finish,
to just jog it,
because you're already in it. Yeah, you know what I mean. So those are, you can't control that now. And that's in the past.
Yeah, right.
Before.
A lot of times, like what you just mentioned there, a lot of times it's not even something that is. Well, I guess your response to it is intentional. But what I mean, but it's not necessarily an intentional negative response, such as you miss a ball gets through your legs, or you boot it or whatever, and it's not necessarily, I guess, a frustrating, like I'm frustrated and so I'm not going to go get that, right? Or I'm mad so I'm not going to. It's not always that. It's just sometimes it's just you assume that that's not your ball anymore, right? Like, oh yeah, I missed that. Okay, it's somebody else. No,
the rep is ended.
It's still yours. Yeah,
not only that, it's a great opportunity at that point.
Yeah.
To practice something that is kind of difficult to, you can simulate that, but there's an argument against simulating missing balls too, because you don't really want to do it. You know what I mean? It's not something you want to practice doing either. So you definitely have to be careful with that. But yeah, you have an opportunity. It's a natural simulation of what you're going to experience, in a game.
There are times when I tell pitchers to throw balls on purpose, like balls, not strikes.
Well, I could say I could see that.
I want you to bounce this curveball in the dirt, or I want you to throw this fastball high and inside.
Yeah,
in their bullpen or whatever, and then you'll ask them, okay, what did you feel?
Absolutely.
In your throwing mechanic there, in your throwing motion that caused you to do that. Or if they don't do it, tell them keep doing it until you feel what it feels like to make that kind of a pitch. Because I think sometimes it's easier to correct if it's a mistake. I think it's easier to correct something when you know how it feels to do it wrongly.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's good stuff. It is good stuff.
Do I give you a basic one?
A basic one that happened with you?
Yeah.
Sure.
And always does. Guys aren't in a hurry to get from one spot to another. You know, players aren't in a hurry. They just think, I don't know what this is. If it's a,
you talking just like a lack of general hustle between drills or something?
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to be doing? You know, from the time that the coach tells you to go to right field to the time that you get there. You know, what are you spending that on? You know what I mean? I think players don't realize how much that stands out. One, against them, you know, not in favor of them. But two, I don't think a lot of times players understand how important the controlling that tempo and controlling that energy is from a competitive standpoint, because, you know, if one team does it and the other team doesn't, I'd say the edge goes to the team that does.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are in control.
Otherwise, you're letting things happen to you as opposed to taking them, making them happen for you. So
I think what you're experiencing there is just this is your first. You're bringing in something new. And I'm not saying that other coaches in the past let players walk everywhere, things like that. I'm just saying that you're going to have a different kind of hustle expectation than the guy before or the next guy that comes after you. Everybody's different. And so I think what's going to happen is it's all about building a culture. It's building, you know, it takes time to do that. And I think when these guys on a consistent level start to get what your expectation of them is for getting from point A to point B, then that's just going to be the way they do it. Because sure. I anytime you come to a new situation, that sometimes it's, you know, if kids have been there for a few years and they're dyed in the wool in a certain way of doing things, then maybe it is a little bit combative or a little bit of resistance on their part. But sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's just, oh, this isn't how I've ever done it, or this isn't how I was taught to do it, or
right, absolutely,
you know, yeah,
for sure,
yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I that's why I thought, well, you know, bring these things up, because I truly wonder at times if some of the players out there actually even consider these things. You know, to them, you know, to a lot of people, it might just be, well, I didn't realize that, you know, that was giving off a certain perception or what it is.
Well, I gave them a very pragmatic answer as to why we hustle from place to place, from drill to drill. If you're in the cage hitting and you're the next group to come in to hit live, you don't walk in, you run in, you get there quickly. I said, we're still on Eastern Standard Time here. We're going to run out of daylight. This is a beautiful day, and we're not going to waste any of it. And every time you walk, you're wasting time.
That's a good
and
point,
we're not going to waste any of this time.
That's good stuff.
Use it. Use the time that we have.
For sure. It was a good day yesterday.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you don't hustle indoors. So tonight, you're still going to hustle.
You're talking practical. That's a practical.
That's one practical reason.
Just another reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. You know,
ready to go tonight?
Ready to go tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ready to go.
What were you going to say?
Well, I just think to sort of help kids summarize what to bring, you know, if parents are wanting to help their children be the best they can in those first weeks of, you know, first days of practice. You know, one thing is that I always tell our guys is here are the qualities that we're going to strive to pass on to you as coaches, and we kind of want you to have these qualities as well. And that is honesty. We're going to be honest with you. So we're going to talk to you honestly, and we want you to be honest with yourself. You know, that there's an integrity issue there, that we're not going to lie to you. And so if you ask us about your strengths or your weaknesses, we will tell you the truth, because we want you to be the best you can be. And in order to be the best you can be, we've got to be honest, and you've got to be honest with yourself as well.
Good point. Yeah.
And then you know, we just said consistency. We're going to have consistency in everything that we do and say, and things. If we say we're going to do something a certain way, we're going to do it that way as often as we possibly can. We may slip up. There's room for grace. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All around.
We're going to strive for perfection in all of that. But if we don't achieve perfection, there is room for grace. But we're not going to take advantage of grace either. Right? Right? What is it? Paul says that should I go on sinning so that grace may abound? By no means.
By no means.
Right.
Yeah.
By no means. And and so there's a lot of things. There are a lot of those qualities. Discipline is another quality that we want to show you that we have as coaches, and therefore we want you to have it as players. And all of these qualities that I tell them is, these are things that if we don't have them as coaches, it's hard for us to expect you as players to have them. And so you're going to see them in us as well. These guys that we have with us are very disciplined guys. They work hard. They have a great work ethic. They're very aggressive in how they go about doing what they do, and that's why they do it well, and that's why they're successful. So we want you to be aggressive and give max effort in how you go about things. They have confidence. They think confidently. And you can be more aggressive because you have confidence. And the reason why these guys are all confident is because they have great knowledge about what they're doing. If they didn't have knowledge about the game that they're teaching, they wouldn't be confident about it. And so they're constantly learning. They've gone to clinics to learn. They ask me about things. I pass them resources. I continue to learn. And so that's how we can stand before you and coach you up confidently because that. So we want you to have that same kind of confidence. So learn the game. Understand the game. Take these resources that we've given you in the playbook and in the manual and truly make it your baseball textbook. It's not more important than your algebra textbook or your geography, your language arts textbook, but it's a textbook that you've got during the spring semester. It's one of the tools in your kit because it's something that you're involved in that's important to you, and so we want you to be as good as you can at it. And so have that confidence. And then the last thing that I say is, look, I want strong thinking, and this is more than just mental toughness. Strong thinking is you only concerning yourself with the things that you can control. Basically what we've been talking about. We can't control the weather. We can't control field conditions. We can't control anything, what everybody else is doing. And this is why we don't have superstitions. Strong thinking comes into get rid of superstitions. Like some kid was like, I always wear these socks on the first day. It's like, so? I don't care. What's that supposed to mean? Like you're going to have a great first day because of the socks you're wearing, right? We've talked about that before. But if it's a comfort thing and it's a routine thing, then that's great. Yeah, good. I did the same thing, but I didn't believe that because I had those socks on, I was going to play better. That's out of your control. You're in control of how you do, whether you wear those socks or don't wear those socks. But if it makes you feel better, then wear the same socks every year. Fantastic.
Although I do think that the Bengals struggled in the Super Bowl because I was rooting for them.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it backfired on them. You know what I mean? That's how it always works for the Browns. So
whoever roots for them.
When I root for them. Yeah. So is that superstition or is that just, I don't know.
That just might be some kind of eerie magic that's in the atmosphere.
Eerie, yeah. Yes. Nah, you can only worry about what you can control,
right?
And that's what that's how you're gonna that's how you're gonna make an impact,
right?
In anything,
and and that expectation you gave your team a playbook. You gave them a manual.
Not yet.
Or they're getting
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
and so they're going to have, I don't know about you, but like in the very toward the end, I've got a little page here that says, these are three things that I do when I'm at my best, and whenever I'm at my best, and so I'm committing to being this person during the baseball season. And I've got a place for them to sign. And I say, hey, by signing this page, it actually says it, by signing this page, I agree to uphold this playbook and be accountable to the core values of the Eastern Eagles baseball program. And so then you're looking at how they're getting from point A to point B, and it's not matching what they say that they're agreeing to, that they're committing to. And you can say, listen, that's not how we do it. And you know that now.
Yeah,
you know that now.
Stuff.
That's not how we do it.
Right. Yeah, going back to what we mentioned at the beginning when we started today. No rules, expectations, guidelines, principles, standards.
Yes.
All right.
Standards, and defining those very clearly, and then holding each other to them.
Yeah, and it's a choice. that's one of the reasons that you put those up front, because if it doesn't fit, then you have the choice to not abide, to not fit that, to not go with those principles that we're talking about. So
yeah,
it's fair. Do it or it's not going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There are a lot of things in life that don't align with how you want to live, and that's why you don't do those things.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
And so if this doesn't align with how you want to behave or how you want to play the game, then maybe this isn't for you.
And you use the word discipline, and I think discipline's one of those words that give off a negative connotation because people are like, well, you're being forced to do something. Discipline isn't the act of being held under a thumb. It's control.
It comes.
It's doing what you want to do.
It comes within. Yeah,
Yes.
we create our own discipline.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you see an undisciplined person, it's not because somebody didn't punish them enough. That has nothing to do with it. It's because they're choosing to be undisciplined.
Right.
It's their choice. It's always their choice. And sometimes we need a little help to create that in ourselves. And so
absolutely.
A parent gives you standards, a government may give you standards to live by to help you to understand. If you don't understand that there is a limit to how fast you can drive down the highway, then you need a sign and a consequence that tells you this is how fast you can drive down the highway. And if you go over that, there could be a consequence. And so what's that do? It creates discipline in me to regularly drive without even thinking about it now within that range.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. And that leads to success because the discipline in those smaller things, allows you to have discipline in the greater things, right? So
it equals freedom.
Discipline equals freedom.
Discipline
absolutely
gives you more freedom.
Yeah.
It seems like those two things are antonyms. Yes, they seem like that it's an oxymoron to say discipline equals freedom, but it is absolutely true that the more discipline that you create in yourself, the more free you're going to. Think about it. Can you do more if you were disciplined in your routine nutritionally and physically to be fit? Does that give you the freedom to do more with your life?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you're disciplined with your finances and you're able to acquire wealth, does that give you more freedom to do things in your life? Yeah. That's how discipline equals freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff. Well, Coach, we got our 30 minutes in.
And some. Yeah, we're gonna do our best to keep at it here. I think last year during the spring, it was just one of us coaching, and we did a every other week podcast, and then we took a summer off, and then we lost about half of our listeners, and so we're gonna hope to keep things going here, and they might be shorter. They might be remotely.
Although we've promised shorter podcasts for years now, and
you know what you're going to get.
We just don't get it back to it. Those first few episodes, but you know the difference when we recorded those first few episodes, we recorded them in one setting and just split them up.
Yes, we did. We did.
So we still talked for hours.
We knocked out about 6 of them. That's right. And we were talking about one specific thing.
Yeah,
I mean, we came on basically just to iron out like a 6-episode idea, so that we could have some record of talking. We kind of refer back to it because of helping youth organizations create player development programs, and that was really all it was about. So people who listen to our first few episodes, that's probably a deterrent to some people who get this podcast recommended to them. Usually you'll go back and listen to the first podcast of a podcast that's recommended to you, and ours is all about baseball. It's just all about youth baseball.
Yeah.
Player development in youth baseball. Yeah. And that ends up as you go now 119 episodes in, that's not all of what we talk about anymore. It's evolved into a much greater conversation.
talk about everything. Sometimes things that people don't want to listen to, right?
That's right.
We appreciate everyone joining us.
You bet. Have fun tonight.
You too, man.
Whether indoors or outdoors, bring the energy.
Yep. Absolutely. It's a go time.